Hello and welcome to the Divorced Advocate, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude and I'm your host. And today we celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the Divorced Advocate podcast. And I just want to start off by thanking all of you who have listened or are listening right now. We have had more than 23,000 downloads over the 2 years. Obviously, most of those taking place later in the podcast as you continue to share with more people, and the community continues to grow. And I'm overwhelmed with gratitude for how many people we are reaching and the work that we're doing with all the divorced or divorcing dads. This has been it's been obviously a labor of love for a bit, but it is a labor of love that shows and just is so incredibly fulfilling every single day that I'm doing it. The community has grown, and our resources have continued to increase. We have the group meetings, as well as some of the classes and the workshops and the individual coaching, obviously. And we're going to be adding some other resources coming up here as well. And that's going to be part of the series that we're going to be embarking upon today, which is about the power of self-reflection. But also one of those resources is the divorce quiz. You hear me talk about it most every week, and it's been getting a ton of hits and helping a lot of men and dads just kind of see where you're at in the divorce process compared to others who have gone through it. It's going to give you immediate results. It's going to give you some feedback that will get emailed to you right to your inbox, and then you have an opportunity to review those results with me free of charge to kind of look at where things are, what things you're doing well, and maybe what other things that we can help you with in just getting through this difficult and challenging time. So please take advantage of that. It's up at the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com under the divorce quiz tab, or you can go to it directly at thedivorcequiz.com. So 2 years ago, in our first episode, where I wasn't quite as polished, not like I'm very polished now in doing these podcast recordings, but I interviewed the founder of Divorced Dad Diaries, Stéphane Jude. And when we were talking, we went through several different things you can do in starting over. The theme of the podcast was starting over, and we talked about things like letting yourself mourn the end of your marriage, learning how to work through your feelings, learning how to like yourself again, rediscovering things you used to like to do, finding new things you like to do, take some time to be alone, and that was the general theme on how to start over. And what I wanted to do now on this 2-year anniversary, because we've had such a myriad of different podcasts and different guests and different ideas. Obviously, as you know, going through this or having gone through divorce, it's just such a multifaceted thing, really, a multifaceted experience that you're going through that permeates all kinds of areas of your life. And so on this 2-year anniversary, I wanted to start a series that is called The Power of Self-Reflection, because all the things that we talked about in that first episode of starting over are dependent upon self-reflection. And so what my plan is over these next 3 weeks is to go through this ebook that I've compiled and go through the first 3 chapters of this ebook and talk about the power of self-reflection and how you can reflect on your past and make meaningful changes. Obviously, this is a difficult and challenging time, and it's a great opportunity to do some of this self-reflection. And so in this first week, we're going to talk about understanding self-reflection and its significance. And next week, what we're going to talk about is the 7 core principles for reflection. And then in week 3, we're going to go through 10 questions you should ask yourself. And then what my plan is we're going to be launching our app, and I'm going to have this ebook available, and I'm going to give it away for free when you download the Divorce Advocate app in either the Google Android store or the Apple App Store, and then you'll have access to this. But there's also going to be a myriad of others. This is a full course that will take you through the power of self-reflection. And then my other hope is that I'm going to have a special guest that is going to come on our show, and he's going to talk about a specific program that will help you with the power of self-reflection. It's the program over the last 3 months that I have been working on. It's a course in a curriculum that I have personally been working on and working through that I think is absolutely amazing. It's been one of the most profound experiences that I've had around self-reflection and actually creating different tools that will help you in that process. That's then going to lead to some of the stuff that I talked about with Stefan and that I talk about throughout many of our podcast episodes. So that is the plan. I hope that you'll stick with us through those 3 weeks. This is, again, week 1, and we're going to be talking about what self-reflection, understanding self-reflection and its significance. Some of this I'm going to be reading from the book that I've created itself. So some of it might sound a little bit monotone, but I'm going to embellish on it a little bit. And then you'll be able to download this, like I said, in week 3 and read through it and read through all of the rest of the chapters. I'll be highlighting some of the rest of the chapters over the next couple of weeks that are included in the rest of the ebook, but it's really value-rich information. So let's jump into the power of self-reflection. And in this modern day living, most of us tend to live life sometimes without properly reflecting. And obviously, it's just because we get fixed on either goals or we have life. Life is just happening. We've got a ton of stuff going on in work and kids, etc. So what happens is something like a divorce comes up, and you may have known it's coming, you may have wanted it, or you may have prompted it, or sometimes it may have just blindsided you. And so, when we speak of self-reflection, you can see it as a tool that gives you the opportunity to not only analyze what's happened in your marriage or what's going on in your divorce, but it can also help you to analyze your achievements, your skills, your flaws, your fears, your needs, your wants, your aspirations, your position in life, what drives you, and your thoughts. It's more like an advanced form of mental gymnastics that comes with a thorough analytical tool. And so self-reflection is a way to find yourself. It can help you start a major change in your life, like starting over after divorce, and propel you to take the vital actions necessary for your growth and development, can assist in organization and planning, can help you, and it can also help you calm down, make you feel confident, identify your goals, and aid you to attain greater motivation. And all of those things are things that we do and I work on in some of the classes that we do, like the Dad's Divorce Blueprints, or in the rebuilding when your relationship ends. Dr. Bruce Fisher talks about this. He's got the 19 steps that he goes through for recovery from divorce. And those first steps are identifying and talking about those emotions that come up, like denial and fear and adaptation and loneliness, etc. And so self-reflection is just going to propel you to ask those questions, and these questions that help you discover who you are, what you need to do, and lead to more meaningful questions, even though they seem your toxic behaviors. It can also help you focus on positive thinking and inspire you to improve on your weaker fields as they become clearer to you. So what are some of these questions that I'm talking about. One could be, do I worry over circumstances, situations, and events that I cannot affect? Another is, could it be I'm paying zero attention to my goals and tasks? Another, have I been passively thinking negatively? It's about mindset, right? Another is, do I know that my mind is influenced by my bodily treatment? If I'm aware of this, am I treating my body properly? This goes back to self-care that we talk about all of the time. Am I paying attention to that? Another is, do I just automatically endorse or dismiss some opinions or facts without taking time to analyze them? And this is where we've talked in the past about thoughts that come up and whether they're your thoughts or somebody else's thoughts. Another is, are there some skill sets that I need to improve upon? This is step 3 in the Dad's Divorce Blueprint that is available to you at the website. And do we need to upgrade some of our skills as we go through this process? That's step 3. Another question is, what are my weakest areas? And that is part of us of really looking at yourself. Another is, why do I keep some opinions about myself, and what are these opinions? Another, do I know what my strongest skills are? That goes back to the analyzation of what your skills are and what you need to improve. Another is, am I holding anything back in achieving my goals? Now, we talk about this in the first part of the Dad's Divorce Blueprint, and in the personal coaching of strategy, or clarifying your vision and direction. But then also the last part is mastering your psychology around this. So those are important questions. One of the last ones then is, do I know my flaws, and what steps am I taking to work with them? And flaws can also be adaptive behaviors, like Dr. Fisher talks about, and we talk about in the Dad's Divorce Blueprint. So all these questions are questions that we ask in some of the courses that I ask in individual coaching as well, to help reflect on stuff. And if you intend to proceed with the list of questions that you can ask yourself, we could go on and on and on, because the list is absolutely endless. And understanding how significant self-reflection is, what it does is it gives you a fine insight into the tangible boons of the self-reflection and its intricacies. It connects you with ways to reflect properly. And then what it does finally is it guides us on how to let go of the past and then focus on the present. And that's really huge. I'm going to say that again. It connects you with ways to reflect properly and guides you on how to let go of the past and focus on the present. So with that said, let's dive into chapter 1 of the ebook. And again, you're going to get access to this ebook via the app after week 3. This is week 1. We're talking about understanding self-reflection and its significance in this week. So our everyday living and encounters do give us a ton of opportunities to bask in what you might call self-love. I don't know if you can really call it self-love. It's window shopping, looking at yourself in mirrors, countless occasions to adore ourselves and see how beautiful and amazing we are. And while it's good to do that sometimes, we really need to dive a little bit deeper and take some time to think of how splendid it would be if we could afford to invest a little time to shine an unveiling light on our consciousness and glance beyond our skin deep presentations and our outer leg clad exteriors. Again, divorce is a time that will actually strip all of that away from us, in the chaos and upset and change in our life really may force us to do that in where we're forced to do the self-reflection. So delving into the act of self-reflection is very vital when you're looking at your goals and actions. But the question is how often do we consider the self-reflection? What of our emotional well-being and gut feeling, and how often do we check back in with them? And that last one is, how often do we check back in with this self-reflection? This is part of what hopefully I'm going to be talking about with our guest in week 4, in the work that I've been working on personally in this series of the best way I can call it is a course in how to do this. And so hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. So let's define what is self-reflection. Self-reflection can simply be explained to be the conscious act of taking an inward look at your emotions, performance, behaviors, and thoughts with the aim of improving and growing. Most times we put both our personal and professional lives at a detriment when we brush aside this act to the very bottom of our to-do list. Little do we know that our aspirations for the future, gut feelings, and current goals can be aligned with our path when we take time to practice self-reflection. With self-reflection, you'll get to understand the complex relationship that exists between your goals and emotions. And aside from the intriguing additional insights into the complex manner it provides, it can as well help you become more satisfied in your relationships, identifying what's happened in your divorce. It can increase your productivity at your daily tasks, be better, which is huge, right? When we become single dads and we have now a household to run, and we have to balance and juggle all this stuff all at once by ourselves. It can help us be better oriented and become focused with work when you practice it regularly. So Robert L. Rosen highlights this, and he says self-reflection has to do with imagining yourself in the future, reflecting on your interactions with others, thinking about your perceptions, assessing your strengths and failures, and questioning yourself about your values. Now, this is really, really good stuff. And there's a book I talk about all the time. It is called The Tactical Guide to Women. And now this is a book by clinical psychologist here in Denver, Colorado, Sean T. Smith. You hear me talk about it quite often, but and it's in the context of starting to date. But the first half of this book speaks to the last part of what I was saying, which is questioning yourself about your values. It talks about learning and understanding yourself and doing the self-reflection so that you understand what your values and beliefs are. So I highly recommend it, especially if you're going to get back in the dating pool and the dating world post-divorce. But even prior to then, if you want an additional book in addition to the rebuilding book to talk about a process in which you can be looking at your values and understanding your values and refining those values in your beliefs, it is an awesome book. The Tactical Guide to Women, How Men Can Manage Risk in Dating and Marriage. All right, why do you need self-reflection? Well, frankly, one can never exhaust the importance of practicing self-reflection. Whether you're trying to gain some new perspective on a situation, or in our circumstance here, we're in need of guidance, self-reflection can definitely help us. It's going to help us realign with our core values and beliefs and help you to refocus. Again, those values and beliefs, I don't know about you and what you might be experiencing, but for me, during my divorce, that was something that came into question the entire time. It was something that shook me. The divorce shook me to the core, where I questioned a lot of those values and beliefs. And unfortunately, I didn't delve into something like this. I just kind of let it go. I questioned myself a lot. I kind of went around on the just the same path that I was on and that I had been throughout my marriage, without really taking a look and realigning myself with what my core values and beliefs are. And that's the step one in the Dad's Guide to Divorce, is really clarifying your vision and direction, coming to terms with those values and beliefs, and realigning your life if necessary. And that's what we work a lot in private session in doing that, because it's a good opportunity. It's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen because you're getting a divorce and everything is turned upside down and life is completely changed. So you are absolutely forced to do it. So why not take the time to really assess it and understand it and realign with those beliefs, and then refocus. And then you can take some breath. And then after that work's done, you can take some breaths and also then try to relax, knowing that you've put this in motion. Looking at what makes us feel purposeful and motivated is what we need to do, rather than looking for practical solutions. This could be pretty much applicable if you're attempting something a little different. And in this, I say maybe planning a career switch or opting in for a change of job. all this applies across the board. We're talking about it in the context of divorce, but also the self-reflection tools that we're talking about help in other areas of your life. And this is because we can feel uplifted, enjoy a more satisfactory life when we're reminded of our talents and aspirations. Self-reflection gives you the opportunity to make these changes that are valuable and positive, and it permits you to comprehend more beyond the surface and dig deeper. Our heads are often rumpled up with several different emotions, feelings, thoughts that need to be sorted out. And the beautiful thing about self-reflection is it lets you take back control of what you let go of mistakenly. And this is a really big point. There are lots of things during our relationships that we may have disempowered ourselves with. And this is a great opportunity in self-reflection to see what those are and take back our power. Some of those are just letting go of some of our hobbies that we liked to do, and that became that became disempowering, and then we kind of got I don't want to say stuck, but just in a routine of family life without being empowered to be pursuing some of our own endeavors and maybe something that's creative. So that's an idea or an example around how we become disempowered to create something in our life that is beneficial. The other thing that it can do is it can help you to be honest with yourself. It'll help you get rid of negative influences as you become more equipped to take corrective actions. And this is going to be another part of going through a divorce. There are going to be a myriad of people. First, you're going to know I noticed that these different adaptive behaviors weren't just part of my love relationship with my wife. They permeated throughout my life in my business as well as my personal life. So you can then use, through self-reflection, you can then utilize these awarenesses in your business life and across the board. And basically all of this depicts that self-reflection does a lot more beyond making you cognizant and conscious of your feelings, emotions, and thoughts. Another beautiful benefit is that it helps you become honest with yourself about what you can control, and it makes you feel at peace with what you can't control. All right, this is a huge one, and it was huge for me, most definitely. When we're going through this process, one of the things I talk about, and one of the things that was a big challenge for me, is staying in our lane on what you can and what you can't control. You're not going to be able to control what your soon-to-be ex or your ex is doing. We can only control ourselves. And if you've constantly have felt helpless, or you've always felt that there's a massive weight on your shoulders, you may want to consider practicing self-reflection, for it can help you understand that there are some things you don't have control over, and it can as well be handy in managing anxiety, depression, and stress. And why is that? Because when we start to see and we start understanding that we can't control everything, and we start understanding that anxiety is looking forward and we can't control what's going to happen in the future. Depression is partly, these are partly in generalizations, partly looking backwards as to what happened, and we can't change or fix the past. So we know that we can only control what it is that we're doing in the present. So this is going to help. The self-reflection helps anxiety, the depression, the stress. It can, if we're working on and in implementing ways in which to do that. So the last part I want to stress about the power of self-reflection in this first chapter is what you should try to avoid. There's definitely some stuff to avoid. And just as self-reflection can be very helpful, it can also be very harmful. For you to avoid the side effects that are likely to come with it, here are just a few things you must take note of. The first one is, don't get overwhelmed. Patience is the key when you're self-reflecting, though it's easy to feel consumed by the need to cover everything from identity to ideals to relationships, desires to goals and more. Just try to focus solely on a subject. Always remember that a single session doesn't have to cover everything you need to reflect on time. Create time for other sessions to reflect on other subjects too. here's what I see oftentimes. I was guilty of this as well, is, oh my God, I got to get up to speed on parenting. I got to get speed on how to cook. I've got to get up to speed on parenting plans and how to juggle that. And you get completely overwhelmed with all of these different things. And I've seen guys just, and I did it too, just completely engage into every book and every self-help and every course and every class, and just get into all of this stuff. And then it's absolutely impossible to manage. And we talk a little bit about this in the Dad's Guide to Divorce, which is pick one and start with clarifying your vision and direction. Go through those steps, strategizing your actions, upgrading your skills, optimizing your environment, mastering your psychology. For instance, one of them for me was just to come up with wanting to be an available, heart-centered father to my daughters. And so that meant that I had to learn to get present. One of the things I needed to do in getting present, I had to strategize my actions and upgrade my skills by getting better at meditating and getting in the present moment. So there's things I did with my environment and with my psychology around that to just be a present, heart-centered father. That was just one thing, focusing on that one thing to get better. Again, 21 days, 90 days, whatever you're working on, it becomes something that is a routine that then you build upon with the next thing you need to do. So don't get overwhelmed. The next is shift your focus from moments. Whenever you're practicing self-reflection, it's advisable that you focus on your positive traits and not on your success or failure moments, because you're likely to arrive at needless disappointments when you analyze literal mistakes. Since you're not focusing on rewriting history and you just want to improve yourself, you should focus on traits. What does that mean? That means measuring yourself not from where you want to be, but from where you were yesterday, or just the hour before. That you're taking the time to just improve slowly and incrementally, that you're not looking at where you want to be, but where you've been. And all you can do is say, hey, I'm better today than I was yesterday. And then before you know it, what's going to happen is that intention that you've created, or goal or ideal of where you want to be, you're going to be there, or you're going to be close to there, or you're going to be realizing some version of that at some point, just by building upon and focusing on not on the moments, but just on the traits. So shift your focus from the moment. And then the last one is, don't lie to yourself. Okay, we all do this. One of the costly mistakes you can make is to lie to yourself while you're self-reflecting. Do well not to lie to yourself when you're self-reflecting, so you can reap the full benefits and prosper. Actually, that's not the last one. That's the second to last one. So just be honest with yourself. Here's a tip. When you're thinking to yourself, is this the truth? You're going to get a yes or no if you can get quiet, you're going to get a yes or no. In your language, when you're talking, you're going to feel either empowered or disempowered by what you're saying. So don't lie to yourself. Those are just two quick little tips that you can utilize in determining whether or not you are lying to yourself. Your speech and getting quiet and asking yourself, is this the truth? Yes or no. What I'm thinking is the truth? Yes or no. That will help you immensely, and then take action or course correct from there. And then, okay, so here is the last one. And it's because we're in this chaotic state of divorce. It is challenging. As men, we don't like it. We like order. We like to have a path. We like to know where we're going and how we're getting there. And divorce is nothing like that. No two divorces are the same. Everybody's is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. Otherwise, it would be one book. It would be the bestseller, and it would be there would be no need for coaches like me or anybody else out there, or divorce attorneys or anybody. It would be systematic, and we could go through it. But the point being is, if you're in a volatile state, don't self-reflect. Whenever you want to carry out a deep analysis, make sure you're conscious of the kind of state that you're in. State of depression that's a great example of a volatile state. If you reflect in such a state, you're not likely to arrive at views or conclusions or decisions that are in your right mind or that are going to lead to positive impacts for you. So what does that mean? That means take the time to carve out a time and a place to be in a state of mind to do this self-reflection. It's not done on the fly. It's not done maybe just right after you met with your attorney or had a text exchange or a conversation with your ex or soon to be ex. Working with a therapist or coach is a great way to mitigate this because you know that you're going to be in session. A good therapist or coach is going to make sure that you are in the state of mind in talking and going through this and making sure that it is a beneficial opportunity for you to work through this self-reflection. So that is chapter 1 of the book, the ebook. And again, you're going to have an opportunity to download this entire book called The Power of Self-Reflection, How to Reflect on Your Past and Make Meaningful Changes. That was chapter 1, Understanding Self-Reflection and Its Significance. And next week is going to be chapter 2, and we're going to talk about the 7 core principles for reflection. I hope that you found some value in this today. As always, if you did, please share it with another divorced or divorcing dad. Post it to your social media. If you're listening on any one of the podcast platforms, if you can just take 1 second and give us a star review and give us a comment review, that absolutely helps drive our ability to reach more people, because people read those and then it optimizes in search engines the more stars we have. So that helps us on the platforms. It also helps us on YouTube. It helps us everywhere on all the social media. So if you can just take a minute, give a star, it really helps us. And also, if you found so much value that you could support the podcast, we do have a link to be able to support the podcast financially. You may have heard an ad in this one. Our good friends at Our Divorce are partners with us. They help you get through a divorce. You should have heard something in some point through this. It's a new thing. I'm not exactly sure how it's working, but they've got a fine podcast as well. It's called Our Crazy Divorce. Lots of fun. I appeared on it in one of their early shows and talked about my divorce. Go check that out. But it's Tom Mulligan and his partner. They've created a platform at ourdivorce.com that helps you get through your divorce in a much more effective and amicable nature. And so please support them, support our podcast. Thank you again for 2 miraculous years. And it really has been miraculous. The men and dads that I've been able to connect with, the work that we're doing in helping dads, the impact that it's having on family and the children, and creating a less traumatic and healthier divorce. Thank you so much. God bless, and we'll talk to you next week.